Hey, so today I want to talk about some tools that's available in JavaScript. And the first one is being able to comment out a line. Now, the purpose of this is to render a certain bit of code useless, either to denote a message saying, maybe for example, what this code does, or denoting who actually wrote this code. This also helps me debug code. For example, if this alert is incorrect, and for some reason, whenever I go to my website, I get this error and nothing's happening, I could actually go ahead and comment out this line, then reload, and that will help me identify which line the problem is on. Now, if you want to do one comment on one line, it's two forward slashes. But if you want to do a comment that spans multiple lines, in JavaScript, that is forward slash asterisk to start it, and then asterisk forward slash to end it. And you could actually see when you reload the page and go to the elements section of your inspector, you could see that the code is actually commented out down here. Another cool trick is debugger. So I'm going to go ahead and fix this code. If I add debugger in between these two lines, and if I'm in Chrome and I reload the page, I'm going to get this gray overlay, and it's going to say, hey, your code has been paused in debugger, and it's going to show me the exact line where the code is paused. So I can go ahead and skip this by pressing play to resolve it. Also, if ever you had to do some JavaScript, you could actually execute it inside of this console. So if I wanted to say alert test here, that could work. So that's usually paired with debugger. So I go ahead and reload, debugger pause here, and I can go ahead and type out some code. Let's try to do some math. So you could actually go into your inspector on the bottom side in the console and actually perform simple arithmetic. So if I want to type 12 plus 13, it will return to me the result. Return is a keyword that programmers use a lot. Basically, it means something was given back to me, and it's usually the last thing. So if you perform two calculations or two operations, the last thing will be returned. So some things might get washed away. So for example, if I type 2 plus 3, which usually equals 5, and 5 plus 4, which is 9 of course, if I type 2 plus 3, semicolon, 5 plus 4. Now, since a semicolon is like a period in JavaScript, both of these commands will be executed. However, only the result of the last command will be returned. So this 2 plus 3 will get added and equal 5, but you will only see the 9 right here. Now, to do addition is the plus. To do subtraction is a hyphen. To do multiplication is the asterisk. And to do division is the forward slash. There is also an addition modulo, and modulo is the remainder of something. So if I type 13 modulo, which is the percent sign, 4, I'm going to get the answer of 1. And this is the remainder after the division. So 4 times 3 equals 12, and the 1 is the remainder, so this is why the 1 gets returned. Now, doing math is fine, but if I wanted to make it more complex, I can use PEMDAS, so I can use parentheses to prioritize certain things. So I can type 12 times 18 plus 3, and of course it will calculate 18 plus 3 first, and then the result will get times by 12. Now, doing math like this is nice. However, I want to see if I can keep these numbers. And the way we keep things in programming is using variables. Now, you could picture a variable as a black box that can take almost anything. So the first thing I want to try is var a equals 12. Now, this will return undefined. However, if I type a again, this will return the number 12. Now, the keyword var is telling JavaScript that I'm going to declare or create a variable, and the variable is going to be called a. And I want the variable a to have initial value of 12. Now later on, I can go ahead and change that value. I could say a equals 99. And then when I call a, it will return to me the value inside of it. Now, when you first define a variable, it's best practice to do var. So let's type var y equals 99. That works totally fine. However, I can also skip the keyword var, and you'll find that in programming, certain things can be avoided. However, it is best practice to use them. So if I type t equals 33, and I have yet to type t at all in this console code, this will go ahead and work. However, when another programmer sees this in your code, he won't know if this is the initial declaration of the variable t. He doesn't know if this is the first time you're ever using t, or if this is the 100th time you've used t. So that's why we tend to use var so other programmers could know, because it might seem simple in this, I guess, 10 lines of code. However, when you're looking at 10,000 lines of code, things can get very blurry. And also, with these variables, you can perform regular mathematical equations just like how you can in algebra. So say var a equals 33, var b equals 44. I can say b times a, and it'll give me the result. Also, I can say var result equals b times a to keep track of that result for later. Now, the next thing you could do is you could start playing with strings. And strings are essentially a series of characters. Now, I want to go ahead and type it into the console, but this console is a little bit too small. So if you go over to the bottom right-hand side, there will be these three dots. That will allow you to control how this section gets displayed. Some of you guys might actually have it displayed on the right side here. But if you go ahead and click this, you can actually create a pop-out box. So you have the entire screen to use. By default, it's going to put you in this elements section. If you go over to console, you have the entire screen. So let's start talking about strings. Now, a string is basically a word or a sentence. So I can say variable test equals sentence. Now, in programming, almost all strings are denoted by either single or double quotes. So I could say var test equals sentence and var test2 equals sent2. Now, you can use a double quote or a single quote. You just have to remember to always use the same quote you started with to close. The reason why we have two different types of quotes is, for example, let's say you wanted to say contractions. So if you wanted to say don't go there, JavaScript won't know where the string starts and ends. So in this case, instead of using a double quote, instead of using a single quote, we use a double quote.